Real estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner II, team leader at Champions Real Estate Team. And joining me as always is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. So we jump on here every Wednesday, kind of afternoon time frame, whenever he and I are free to get up and have a little bit of free time. But so we jump on, give an update what's going on in the real estate market over the last week. We also have a quick tip like we do every week for the this week is basically kind of when you're getting ready to get your get the ball rolling on your home searches and getting your financing thing. One thing that you can do is check annualcreditreport.com, and that way you can do it one time a year. They'll give you a free report of kind of what's on your credit score, make sure everything's been recorded appropriately, and that's a great first thing to do. After you've talked with, your lender, Russ Williams, and he can basically kind of get all the ducks in a row, but getting that thing before you meet with him, you can see, oh, hey, there's a little thingy that I paid this off, or what's this from? That way you can get those questions answered. And maybe you can even talk to Russ about them to help you. What's the best way to facilitate, improving your credit score, going back and forth. So if you're making your house purchase, but maybe you just bought a car, or you went to the furniture mart, open up a credit card, the furniture mart card, things of that sort. Those things are always great resources to have, so you kind of have an idea. But make sure your credit is in line, because that credit score going up or down ultimately could affect your interest rate, and things of that sort in terms of your loan. So that's just one of those things we look at. So annualcreditreport.com. Jump on there. You can search it. It's free. Like I was talking to Russ beforehand, but then I believe they do one kind of free report a year. So you can do that every year just to make sure that, all the ducks are in a row if and when you ever had to use that credit for a purchase. So, So anyways, let's jump into, do you have anything to add on that, Russ, as far as credit reports or anything like that?
I encourage people to do it even after they've bought a home, even if they're not thinking of buying a home. Credit is such a big part of what we do. It affects homeowners insurance cost, interest rates on houses, cars, boats, everything. So it's a good idea just to monitor your credit. And as we all know, identity theft is a dangerous thing, and it can be an early indicator that somebody's maybe trying to do something they shouldn't.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So it's a great thing. So jumping into the market here. So obviously we had Labor Day this last week. So, sometimes, over my 15 years of being in the real estate business, holiday weekends are up and down. So it just kind of depends. You get some people that are coming into town shopping. Some people are like, well, I'm going to wait till after the holidays to put my house on the market. Well, it looks like we had 528 active listings go live over this last week, which is a pretty significant jump from the previous week where we were about 450. So we had another 75 homes that came on the market, over the holiday weekend, which is great. We need the inventory. We're still seeing low inventory and pretty much most of the price points. New contracts written was 328. So that was down just a little bit from the previous week at about 350 is where we're at the previous week. So like I said, people out enjoying the last, official weekend of summer and all that good stuff and the blazing heat. Sold homes, so those happy new homeowners at 367. So as we're kind of looking at what the market's doing, let's look at the 30,000 foot view and we'll kind of get a big picture of everything here. So share this screen, maybe. What's going on here? Oops, there we go. There. Sorry about that. Technical difficulty. So 30,000 foot view. So looking at the Omaha and Lincoln MLS, we had 2,600 homes. I think it's the first time we broke that this year. Culmination of all the marketplaces there. Just a little perspective. So when I got my license in 2008, just the Omaha MLS, not including Lincoln, we had about 5,500, almost 6,000 homes just in the Omaha MLS. Now we're at 2,600. So it gives you a little perspective. When we break that down in the Omaha metro area, Douglas-Sarpy County, just under 1,500 at 1,478 existing homes. So those are just meaning not new construction. We're at 631, which these numbers don't change that much. When you look at this graph week to week, like I said, it's a 30,000 foot view. I use that analogy all the time. If you're in a plane going over Nebraska and you look at I-80, it doesn't look like it's moving very fast, but you get down on the highway, they're going 80, 75 miles an hour. So it's obviously just depends on the perspective of where you're at. If you're in the market, you're seeing that. If you're just on the sidelines looking at the kind of the data, and even sometimes the data that, the Omaha World Herald and the newspapers and those type of things print, they're looking at the 30,000 foot view. And the funny thing is their information is usually 3 to 6 months old, which in that time frame is ancient from the real estate perspective of getting down on the streets and in the neighborhoods of what's going on. Months of inventory, 1.9. Our average sold price went up another $1,000 at 336. But, we're still seeing those numbers moving. So I had my mastermind meeting last week with another 15 or so agents. We meet once a month at the Berkshire Hathaway office with, all the agents in there doing pretty good volumes and stuff like that. So we're in the trenches and we're kind of seeing that the price points, up to about 350, those markets are still moving pretty good. That 400 to 800 is sitting there a little bit. I know one of the agents, she was talking, she saw the house, she showed about a month and a half ago, and, they dropped the price, came back and she goes, pretty sure I showed this house to my clients, a little bit ago. So we're, and the thing is we have to educate our sellers in that price point that maybe aren't moving as much. And do you want to be the bride or you want to be the bridesmaid? You want to get married, find that buyer, or you want to be the bridesmaid, look pretty, be on the stage, but you're not getting selected. And I think right now, some of the sellers have that mindset that the inventory is low, houses are flying off the market. Well, maybe if you're working with an agent that's, selling 1 or 2 houses a year, they may think that as well, not doing the numbers and seeing that, but knowing that, hey, in that price point, they're not moving as quick and we want to be the bride. We're going to price our houses competitively, still net you and maximize your equity in that process. But you got to make sure, you have to educate your sellers or educate our clients, in what's going on in that marketplace. Because me as an agent, if I'm going out there with a buyer and I see your house has been on there for a month, a couple of weeks, and you're at 700,000, we're not going to offer you 700,000. We're not going to go above that list price either, probably on our initial offer. We're going to look at what the market's doing and I'm going to educate, coach my client, because knowing the flip side of what those sellers' mindset may be, of, hey, the housing market's great. They're reading the Omaha World Herald from, last week or whatever, and they're printing numbers that are a couple months old. That's not what market we're in, and so you have to be educated. You have to make sure that your house is in great shape. If it takes time to get that house ready, then do it, because the buyers are out there. There's still plenty of buyers out there that are looking for those houses, in that price point. But that's just kind of what I'm seeing, talking to other agents, being in that marketplace, day in and day out. And that makes a difference. And I think we're seeing that. And I think that's just those educated agents that are doing that are usually those that rise to the top in these times where there's not as many, where the market's kind of going back to normal. You're not just putting a sign in the yard. You're not taking orders anymore. You have to work at getting your house done. And so being in the business for 15 years, gone through that, like I said, 6,000 homes on the market, average days on market were 75 to 80 days on market. That was average, getting on average, 95 to 97% of list price, so you can just do the simple math, going up, what those houses at 500,000 are selling for, that's $15,000 less. So that's, 485, is what the average was selling. So, $15,000 less. So you're just doing the math, you're doing the numbers, you got to understand what's going on out there. And anyone that's thinking about listing their house, happy to sit down with them, know what price point you're in, focus on that neighborhood, know what the activity is. We have tools that can basically show us the showing activity on other listings, in that regard. So we can say, hey, there's this many buyers that have looked at houses in your neighborhood. And we can say, okay, this one didn't sell. And there's been, 20 people, 30 people, potentially have looked at that house or buyers in that buyer pool. And if that one isn't selling at this with the condition, maybe it's in great condition, they just have it overpriced, because I know like my buyers, what 650 gets, what 700 gets, 800, they know what 300 gets. And so when you've looked at enough houses as an agent, plus as a buyer, I'm educating my clients, say, this one isn't worth 300. This one isn't, we could probably get it for here just because you're seeing enough of those homes out there. So that's just working with an educated agent, especially here at Champions Real Estate Team. That's what we do for you. Ultimately from a seller's perspective, we're going to maximize your equity, but from a buyer's perspective, we're also going to educate you to get you that best price for that home, in that case. So, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on in the market, 5-minute viewpoint of it, but happy to sit down with you. But ultimately, if you're going to be looking at houses, you got to get financing. You got to know what the heck's going on your mortgage rates and stuff like that. So let's jump in here with Russ. Russ, how we doing? And what are you kind of seeing in your neck of the woods?
Doing pretty good, Mark. I'm going to echo something you just said. Experience matters. It makes a difference with whom you do business. This is an interesting market, as all markets are. Abnormal is normal anymore. Mortgage rates, though, have stayed relatively stable for a little while here. And for those of you that aren't following Mark's Facebook page, I encourage you to do so. He had an excellent article out there that talked about the relationship between mortgage rates and inflation. As inflation goes, thereafter goes mortgage rates. We know that interest rates on mortgages rose as inflation climbed over the last few years. And inflation is down. We've seen a nice improvement. The Fed has continued to put its throat on the growth in the economy to try to keep inflation or to try to get inflation back down to their preferred measurement level. Mortgage rates have not yet followed, but they will. And to echo what Mark had mentioned a moment ago, when they do follow, there will be a lot more buyers who are currently on the sideline jumping back into the market. And so we do expect to see more multiple offer situations. So it's important that you work with a team that knows how to deal with those multiple offer situations. So for those of you that would prefer to not pay 5, 10, 15% perhaps over asking price next year, I encourage you to get into the market now. We can always refinance and right size that rate next year when rates come down. But jump into the market now. I was on the Great Plains Regional Multiple Listing Service webpage today, and I noticed that the list versus sale price over the last 12 months has still been sitting, even though interest rates are high, it's sitting over 100%, meaning homes are selling on average for more than the asking price. So when interest rates drop, do we really think that we're going to see those prices drop? I don't think so. So I encourage you to get out there now and buy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time. And I even have, not to drag, we try to keep these videos short, but I know a lot of people right now are going to, start putting the brakes on things. You're coming to holiday season, or, hey, we're going to renew our lease. We're going to do those type of things. I think right now we were talking to our mastermind meeting that the apartment complexes and people are starting to pick up on people going month to month. So I know one of them, I think their son or daughter that's renting, I think their rent's like $1,500 a month or something like that. But they said if they go month to month, it'll be $2,000. Like they're drastically increasing it. So they're trying to keep those people and encourage them to get into those longer term 1 to 2 year leases to try to lock them in. So they aren't going out and buying houses, because they want to capitalize on that increased rent, which is, that's just what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm trying to tell my clients too is, read the fine print, take a look at what would it cost to break that lease. Now, if that, you break that lease and it's, 1.5 times, then maybe it's $2,000 to break your lease. But like Russ just said, if our appreciation is going 3 to 5%, up a year, that $300,000 house is going to be $15,000 more next year. Doesn't make sense to buy that house, let's say in October, November, break that lease for $2,000 to save yourself potentially 15 grand, on a purchase price next spring. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but that's stuff I've brought up to my clients in the past and saying, it doesn't matter to me what you do. I just want you to know the options that you have. Because most people are like, oh, my lease ends in next April. When should I start looking? And I'm like, well, honestly, if you can find that house now, and it's not that you have to go rush out and find one now, but if the right house comes up and you don't have all this competition, at let's say a little bit higher interest rate, spring potentially, like Russ is talking, maybe the rates are going to come down. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. But if you can get into that, and you break that lease, you're sitting there pretty, next year. And worst comes to worst, you pay that $2,000 to get out of your lease. You're not paying someone else's mortgage anymore. You're paying yours. You're putting that down to your principal, and you're gaining the potential appreciation over the time that you live there, that extra couple months, so that's, in my mind, it makes sense to me. But my clients that I work with, sometimes they don't think outside the box. They don't buy a house every single year. They're just looking at it the one time thing. Hey, we're going to buy a house, or they're getting married. They got all these things going on in their lives and they just haven't really digested it. They're just, okay, we're going to get married. Next, we're going to buy a house, and the timeline of stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, man, I wish we would have bought last fall. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, my 15-year, gosh, I wish we would have bought, 6 months ago, and it's like, because when you're buying a house, you always feel like you're paying an exorbitant amount of money when you buy that house. Like I felt when I bought my house in 2007, I bought a house on split entry for $110,000 when I was moving out of my parents' house. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to break the bank. I was nervous and all this stuff. And I had a 6.125% interest rate, I think, at that time. I'm like, okay, my mortgage, but cripes, man, now I wish I had about 10 of those houses, because there's literally one in my neighborhood, same exact thing, selling for $260 right now. I paid $110 in 2000, though woulda, shoulda, couldas. So that's just stuff that you look back at, that why real estate historically has been a great investment over the time frame. And then when you start getting educated on that, and then you look at from a real estate investor standpoint, that's the next step of, if you're working with an agent here at Champions Real Estate Team, we're trying to educate it on the whole gamut of what real estate is. And I think that's a huge, benefit that I know that other agents just don't talk about. it's not that they don't want to talk about, maybe they're just not experienced at it. They don't know that much about it, and they just plug and chug and they love working with their clients, selling houses, and keeping them informed, but that way, when you talk about that with your clients, it's fun. I get excited about it. I can sit here and talk all day about it, but how can you become your own bank to, fund your kids' college or your retirement, or, buy that vacation home or buy that boat, whatever you want to do as you build that income, from a real estate investor standpoint of it. And yes, it has its pros and its cons. Like I said, I just had my first eviction back in May, and we still haven't filled the house. So I've been making I'm be honest, I've been making 2 mortgage payments essentially on that house since April. Actually, well, yeah, I think they didn't pay in April, kicked them out in May. So April, May, June, I've been 7 months of extra mortgage payments. Not fun, but I'm looking at it that's going towards principal, all that kind of fun stuff. There's other different things, but you have to be honest with your clients, and your potential and your friends and stuff that are thinking about that. Here's the downfall on it, So anyways, but yeah, I can get down a whole rabbit hole there, but yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it, all that good stuff. So, long story short, if now's the time to buy, jump in the saddle. We're happy to help you with the reins as you're going down the trail to be part of that journey to get you where you want to be and just educate you along the way. Whether that's buying a house in the next 2 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, we just love to be part of the process. And Russ has got some obviously great products out there too that we were just talking on before, and different grants, different programs that they have, funding, first time buyer, not even first time buyers. If you're using conventional, they may have, $4,000 different type things that they have out there. So be looking for that. We were just brainstorming, ideas and stuff before we got on here. So anyways, yeah, that's all I got for today. I guess I forgot to change my name or my contact info for number 402-672-7670. Or you can reach out to me on any social media and all that good stuff. So, but Russ, you have anything you want to throw in there? Or?
No, enjoy this beautiful weather. We're not hot. So
awesome. So, yeah, take care, and we'll see everybody next week. And hopefully I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. So we got a, special edition coming tomorrow. So we'll see how much sleep I get, but maybe they'll make an appearance next week, and we'll see how it goes. So take care. Thank you, everybody. And talk to you guys